We we have pretty much a brand-new team. We have built a culture the last 3 years, a great culture of winning, capping off with the winningest class in the history of Louisville with last year's class. And now what we're concentrating on is building that same culture. And one of the things that becomes difficult is when you have 6, 7 new players. When you have foreign players, it's not only you have to get them stronger physically, stronger mentally, but you're introducing them to a whole new culture. And that's what we're trying to do with Anis and Mats. And it takes a lot of patience when you deal with 7-footers because they're not ready physically, they're not ready mentally. But the good news is we have a starting 5 that's terrific, really understands the culture, and they're obviously doing a very good job of developing it through the bench. And the bench right now is the thing that has to come the most on our basketball team. So these red-white games coming up are going to tell us an awful lot. Sometimes when you play exhibition games, they don't tell you an awful lot. But when you play against size and quickness against each other, we're going to know stamina-wise, because there are very few substitutes, who's ready to play. And that's what the red-white thing is all about, because the 2 units play almost the whole game with very few breaks, very few substitutes. So it's a week from this Sunday at 2 o'clock, and we'll know a lot about our basketball team at that point. Right now, we're just working our ways through all of it, getting guys in great shape, getting guys' stamina up to par, working on the fundamentals of our style. So it'll tell an awful lot a week from Sunday.
Chris and Okoye back doing everything.
Chris has been back over a month, but it's Okoye and Jalen have just come back within the week. He hasn't practiced a day since he's been here. He first it was academic reasons, and now it's been I don't know the exact. Do you know the exact what? Tendonitis in the quad, which basically what they do is they inject, they take blood out, they centrifuge it, and then they put it back in. I'm not sure, but he's been out. He hasn't practiced since he's been here. He just came back just yesterday.
Practices have you had?
How many?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We started last week.
Will you talk a little about the starting 5, what you'd like about them in terms of their experience with different?
Well, I think they're all playing extremely well. I couldn't pick out one guy, although our backcourt, this is one of the better backcourts I've been around, because they share the position like Peyton and Rush shared the position. These guys share the position. Whoever gets the outlet is the point guard. The other guy becomes the 2. They play very well with each other, Terry and Chris. Chris has been remarkable because we've been on him. It's taken a long time to get there, but he's lost 10 pounds, and I call him now Mighty Mouse because I asked him if he knew the cartoon Mighty Mouse. He said, "Is it from the Tommy Jerry Productions?" And I said, "No, it's not. I said, "I'm going to try to pull it off somehow, some way." But he is very, very quick, very strong. The thing about 5'9" guards, most of the time, 90% of the time, they're a detriment. But with him, he's a tremendous asset being 5'9", because he's so strong that he can pick you up full court. You can't lose him. He's so quick you can't lose him. There are other 5'9" guys that weigh 145, 150 pounds. That's not the case with Chris. He's one of the strongest guys on our team. So his height is a tremendous asset to us. Terry's playing great basketball. Wayne's been terrific. Montrezl Harrell has added a lot to his game, and Mango has improved like you would expect. So all 5 guys are playing good basketball right now.
What has Montrez added?
He added a very accurate 16-foot jump shot. He's handling the ball better, bending his knees better. Just got to get him playing better defense right now. The only thing he's not doing better, he was a much better defender last year, and he's got to pick that up.
How is Mango now versus in the last season?
You know, he was a little, I don't know if it's a word, but robotical, a little stiff. He's no longer that way. He's got better offensive moves in the low post. He's stronger up there. You'll notice it right away. His biceps, he's much stronger. It's very difficult to get somebody with his lower body. I've had players like that throughout my coaching career. You can't really get the lower body that much bigger, but his upper body's much bigger.
Some guys never get rid of that stiffness. How did he make that transition?
I think just by repetition of offensive moves, working on his footwork. He's a much better basketball player right now, as you would expect. You know, his goal is to be as good as Gorky someday, and he always talks about that.
You're ranked number 2 in the preseason coaches poll at ESPN and the ACC. Just some thoughts about that, how you think you fit in the ACC.
I haven't seen it. I don't know how we fit. I know. If I had to pick, I don't know what it is. I would say based on what's coming back. I always look at experience, and Carolina's very experienced with their returning players. So I don't know who's 1 or 2. You know, if Virginia has 4 starters back, you have to put them up there. So I have no. We're a new basketball team. I wouldn't know how we fit in a conference outside of Syracuse, Pitt, Notre Dame that I really know very little about.
How would you compare the challenge with this team as opposed to, say, 4 years ago when you were kind of, I would say, starting over with that squad?
Well, I think we, you know, as we spoke 4 years ago, we wanted to build a new culture, and you always do with Louisville first. You know, we told our players to buy into it. If you do everything humanly possible to have success with the name on the front, without question, the name on the back is going to benefit. And the players see that. They see Luke Hancock, that if he doesn't make the Memphis Grizzlies, has 2 major job offerings already in business waiting for him back here. They see Tim Henderson already with a job. They see Russ Smith with a guaranteed contract. They see Stephen Van Treese in Japan with a guaranteed contract. So they've seen that winning his class, the name on the back has been taken care of with each one of them. So that's what we're trying to instill. Now, it's a little more difficult with this group because you have a big Norwegian, you have a big Egyptian who you know, they don't know anything about these people, these classes. So, you know, and I told the guys just yesterday that, you know, there's a certain swear word that I don't think is good to use in practice. And we have learned what they've done is they've learned the counter to that in Norwegian. So they all swear now in Norwegian, so you won't hear them. You won't know what they're saying. Although the Norwegian version of the one word is very close, you'll figure it out.
Give us a letter.
Well, I like the name Frank. It's one of my favorite names.
Do you expect those 2 guys both to play, or is there
I don't.
that were redshirt?
I don't expect either one to play, and not because they won't develop. My experience with guys like Nazir Mohammed, I remember he was so upset at me that I started a JV team for Nazir to play, just to get experience, and we brought junior colleges in to play against him. And we all know he's entering his 19th year in the NBA. It's just big guys take much longer than guards. Like Quentin Snyder, offensively, it's been a very comfortable transition. Bigs just take time, physically, mentally, and now you're talking about, you know, one guy was trying to, you know, escape bullets going home from the square in Egypt. So this is a wholly different situation for him. So it just takes time, and one needs a lot of strength, the other needs a lot of mental toughness. So I don't expect either one to play, not so much because of their individual development or their deficiencies. It's because Mango and Nanu are so good. You know, they're just behind those 2 guys.
How much does your offensive planning change without Russ kind of dominating the ball and being the guy?
Well, we'll know what we're doing now. We'll know what plays we're running.
The other newcomers, Nader and Snyder, and Washington.
Well, when I spoke to people after the game here in Louisville, what's it called? The Derby Classic? They told me that Nana was in pathetic shape. And you get to know new players. Nana he won't turn 18 until November. He's 17 years of age. So the thing, before I judged what type of player he was, Because I went recruiting the first day of individual instruction, and I asked the guys how he did. He said, "Coach, you will not believe he could not get through a drill, his conditioning." And when you see him, the physical specimen, his mom and best friend did not recognize him when he went home. When you see the specimen he has become physically, it'll blow you away from that derby class. He is now in great shape. He is a physical specimen with very little body fat on him. He's probably 250, 55 pounds of solid muscle. We've got to improve. He has what Montrez has from the foul line. You know, when players say, "Oh, we got to improve our free throw shoot, we got to improve it," yeah, we do, no question about it. But guys like Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal, Wilt Chamberlain, throughout the course of time, the reason they're bad free throw shooters is the size of their hands. When you take guys with huge hands, they become like Dwight Howard. And what they do is their hands are so big, they go through all these gimmicks of shooting with one hand. They basically pull the string, and they try to shoot like that. And what we're trying to develop, and Montrez is going through a nice period right now where he's developed it, is just to have a soft touch, and not let their hands be a detriment. Well, Matza's going to have to go through that. Nanu's going to have to go through that. And the good thing is Montrez has improved his free throw shooting.
How would you describe your defense right now? I mean, the personality of it.
You know, I won't know until the red-white game. We're just introducing it. You know, I keep mentioning the word culture. You know, there's always one game in a tournament that your offense, not necessarily you're going to be off. And I'll give you an example, Wichita State. We knew we were going to struggle in that game offensively because every team that played against Wichita State, you're going to struggle offensively. So your defense has to win the game for you. There's always 1 to 2 games in a tournament where your defense has to win it. Well, and it's true in every sport. It's true in football. Your defense has to win it for you in 1 or 2 games. Your offense can't do it. Well, I don't know right now what our defense is because we haven't played against enough competition. But I know we're going to play against Virginia or Pittsburgh, very similar to a Wichita State, where our defense, if it's not as good as them, we're not going to beat them. So that's what we have to do. And that's the biggest adjustment when you have 6 new players, is we're teaching them 3 different presses, teaching them a matchup zone, we're teaching them man pressure, man switching, and it's difficult. So as we get rolling here, we're not going to concentrate so much on 9 through 13. We're going to just focus in and hone in on the first 8.
When you look at your early season schedule, Ohio State, Indiana, you start off with Minnesota, how much urgency does that kind of give to this preseason compared to past?
It does. That's why the red-white games is crucial to us. You know, a lot of people think we're going to have a lot of fun with this Minnesota-Louisville game. Look, I know my son, and I know him as we all know our children. And when I called him, I said, look, I don't want to, ESPN wants us to play this game. I don't want to play it. I don't want to play you. It was obvious that when we played FIU that we were supposed to win. But now, the fact that he insisted on playing the game, I knew then and there he thinks he can beat us. Now, that being said, that was before Montrezl Harrell made his decision. But he still thinks he can beat us. He's got 4 seniors. He's coming off an NIT championship and 25 wins. He knows he has a really good team. And I don't know what he was alluding to, but we played golf against each other and we're very competitive 5 times this summer, and he beat me all 5 times. We're exactly the same handicap. And the last time in Minnesota, he gave me a pat on my ass and said, been a tough summer for you. Hope it's not a tough fall. So, you know, he fully expects to win that game. And I know their team. He knows our team. They're fully capable. If we are like we've been the last 3 seasons, we won't beat Minnesota because we always start to play really good basketball sometime in January. But those teams you just mentioned, from Minnesota to Cleveland State to Ohio State to Indiana, you know, I was with Tom Crean the other day. He really likes his team this year. To Kentucky going forward, and then of course the ACC. We've got to be ready. In about 2 weeks, we've got to be ready. And again, I go back to those red-white games being crucial. You'll be able to judge. I'll be able to judge, and we'll know more about this basketball team at that point.
Your initial impressions of Shaquan
I'm impressed with Quentin because he's gotten physically stronger. You know, he came in here 13% body fat. He's now 7 and change. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's typical. Most freshmen, he can't guard any of us, but he's offensively a gifted basketball player. Shaquan's a different situation. He's come in, he didn't lie about his weight. I asked him what he weighed during the summer. He said 185, between 185 and 188. He came in between 165 and 168. He wasn't lying. He got sick. I asked him if he broke his jaw and he had his mouth wired. He said no. He caught some type of bug, and he lost 7-8 pounds in a week. And so I'll believe him because he did lose the weight. But he's like Francisco Garcia. He's very weak physically. Now, he's a talented young man, but Wayne Blackshear dominates him every day physically. Now, he can pass, he can shoot, he can score. He's very gifted like Francisco was, but he's physically very weak. So that's Reaganon's job right now, and it's up to Ray not to let the legions of fans that we have down.
How do you react to the Big Ten's decision yesterday to guarantee scholarships, essentially for the duration, and you think that that's going to be something the ACC has to do to just compete?
You know, the players we recruit at all level, Kenny, can you think, I've been here now 13 years, right? Is it 13? 13. Can you tell me how many players I didn't renew in their scholarship in 13 years?
There's many at all.
I don't think personally it happened one time. There have been other circumstances where the university has asked people to leave, but I don't think it's happened one time. And I would say that's true of almost every single place. If you ask somebody who's there 10 years, it may have happened once or twice. So I think that's more PR than it is reality. I mean, we have so many other issues we should be dealing with to correct. Now, that's nice PR for the conference to do that, and I'm sure the ACC will follow suit like you just mentioned, but it's really more PR than it is. We have other issues we should be dealing with right now.
Anything particular on your list?
I think we need to deal with the, you know, what I personally don't like, and I've seen over the last 5 years, and I don't like, and you wanted to speak to me about, but I don't personally like, I can't recruit a kid because he's a Nike, he wears Nike in the AAU circuit. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing, and it's happening in our world. Or he's on the Adidas circuit, so the Nike schools don't want to, I never thought that shoes would be the reason you recruit players. And it's a factor. It's a factor, and I think we need to deal with that. I think we need to get the shoe companies out of the lives of young athletes. I think we need to get it back to where parents and coaches have more of a say than peripheral people. But that's easier said than done. I don't know how to do that. It's like trying to get the runners out of the game. You know, I know we try our best to do that, but I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Do you think you're at a disadvantage not being in Nike school?
I think our pool shrinks. Our pool shrinks. But that being said, in the last few years, we're having the best recruiting classes that we have in the last 13. So it almost makes us, I realized looking back on it, how much time and effort I've wasted because I wouldn't believe in what I just said.
So are there players who specifically said, I can't come play for you because you're not?
No, they don't come, but the outside influences from the shoe companies to the AAU coach knows that if that kid goes to an Adidas school, then he may not get renewed by the Nike school. So it's the outside influence. It's not actually the kid itself that cares. But, you know, if you guys are influential in a young person's life and you say, boy, you should really go to, Kentucky, they're a Nike school, and he's getting it from all, without saying that. He doesn't have to say Nike school. He just says Kentucky. Everybody's in that court because you're all working for that shoe company. So I think that's a bigger problem than the whether you guarantee scholarships. But nobody wants to talk about that. You know why nobody wants to talk about that? Because it's money related. And anytime it's money related, schools University of Louisville makes a lot of money through Adidas and all the schools. So you don't want to really, but I think it needs to be cleaned up. I think, I've always said, and I've always wished the NCAA would do it, I've written letters on it, I've talked about it, is that I wish the NCAA would run the camps in the summertime. So then everybody gets explained all the NCAA rules, what you could do, what you can't do by the NCAA. And they run the camps, and they tell us when to go in and watch, and they legislate all of that. That would be a great way to spend all that money, that war chest that they have. But, you know, I don't think they want to do that. And by the way, I'm not speaking about a personal situation that just happened to us. That really wasn't the case, believe it or not. That really wasn't the case. I'm talking about, in the last 5 years, I've seen a tremendous change on this. And believe me, it's a very competitive thing by these shoe companies to get players. I mean, they're going out and recruiting like us for the summertime. Let's get this kid in EYBL, let's get this kid in Adidas Nation, and they're competing like we compete for recruits. And, but it's very tough to address because our pockets are lined with their money.
Well, do you think there's a relationship, money between the shoe companies and the high school players?
I think the high school players are all getting shoes, yeah. And they're getting uniforms to play in the AU circuit. I don't think there's anything illegal, but they're all getting shoes and apparel, and the AAU programs are getting taken care of by the shoe. We all know that. That's wide out in the open. You know, some of these AAU programs get paid a lot of money to run their program. And there's the elite AAU programs, and some of them are very good, very good. But, you know, what I've learned is if I go in and there's a Nike program and they're getting paid this grand sum of money, Louisville's not going to come in and recruit that because it doesn't make much sense, because they may not get that grand sum of money down the road if they don't go to those schools. And the same thing with Adidas. If they're an Adidas school, the Nike, you know, so I just learned this. I never believed it just until the last couple of years. And so I think that's a problem that's more addressed. Not to go off on this tangent of what I'm talking about, I think that's a problem that is really prevalent in basketball right now.
Do you think the rest of the coaches feel the same way? I mean, do you think that there's
I'm sure the Nike coaches don't feel that way.
Why have you been?
Because they're winning the battle right now. You know, it's a battle.
Why have you been so successful despite that? Like you mentioned,
Because it took me a long time to realize who I'm going after, and we've finally done a good job with that.
So do you stay away from Nike kids?
Nothing to stay away. We just want to see. We know the programs that are really influenced, the marquee programs that are run by them. And look, it's not just Nike now, because Under Armour is a big player in this field as well. Under Armour has become, I think, the second largest company with the United States, right? So it's not, they're coming, they're being look, they're competing hard. It's just, I wish it wasn't there, and I don't think I think it's going to be there for a long, long time, as long as we're getting paid by those schools.
If that's the case, then how do you adjust that long-term?
I adjust by.
Recommend
I adjust.
going to Nike?
No. I don't think that's the answer. The answer for us is to find out what athlete is involved in what AAU program. How loyal is he to that AAU program? Will the outside influences in that program push him and direct him toward Nike schools? So we have to do our homework and be very diligent. And we obviously, the last 2 years, we've been very diligent because we're having great success.
Before the Adidas deal, the new Adidas deal was that something that you addressed with Tom or anybody in the athletic department before going?
I have my own choices to make what shoe company. I'm sort of separate from the university in that regard, although we've been tied in together. And, you know, it's right now, I'm very comfortable where we are with Adidas because we're having great success. If I didn't feel we could have great success, I would have recommended we go with Under Armour or go with Nike or whoever it may be. But it was my fault, not the shoe companies, not the university, that I didn't do a good enough job finding out and researching how big a factor certain things are with certain people and the influences. So it's my fault, nobody's fault but my own, in finding out that homework.
Is there a flip side being one of the highest profile brands or personal names for the
You know, as long as you do your homework, you're fine. As long as you do your homework, you're fine. And I didn't do my homework. So it's not, the shoe companies aren't to blame. They're playing the ultimate competitive game. Who could be number one? Right now, Nike's number one. Under Armour's making a push. They're competing like we're competing. So it's, you know, we've got to make sure we know that it doesn't matter to the kids. It doesn't matter to the kids. And those kids are the kids we want to go after.
I don't believe that Kentucky's second team is number 2 in the country.
You know, I really mean this, and don't take this the wrong way when I say this. I could care less about Kentucky. I really, everybody always asks me. The reason I never knock Kentucky, like most Louisville people will do, is because I have too much respect for the players I coached for those 8 years. So I never say a negative word about Kentucky. On the flip side, I don't care what they have or what they do, except when we get ready to play them. So I never say a negative word about them. I tell this story all the time, and it's taking me, just like it's taken me a long time to find out the shoe business, it's taken me a long time to finally realize how to treat all the 400,000 people in this town that come up to me and say, hey, Coach, I'm a Kentucky fan. It's taken me a long time. So now I got it down to a science of how to stop that. And it started by chance in Atlanta airport when this person came up to me and just out of clear blue ran up to me, and I got nervous from behind, said, Coach, I'm a Florida fan. And I just went like this, and she smiled, said, go Gators. And she looked at me and just walked away. So I said to White King, that was great. Did you see her just walk away without an answer? I said, I'm going to try it when I got back to Kentucky. And invariably, I'm out to dinner. Hey, Coach, I'm a Kentucky fan. Go Cats. They look right at you, and they walk away. So it's like the shoe business. It's taken me a long time to master this. So now when somebody runs up to me, you know, I played at South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. They immediately leave your table and you can finish your dinner. So I am learning after 13 years so much about this industry.
Anything else for Coach before we get to preseason?
This is not entirely facetious, but has the Ebola virus had any impact on, seriously, on your recruiting in Africa, logistics or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I think like AIDS, you know, we've got to be really well educated on this, you know, the Ebola virus, you know, how long does it stay on an outside banister? How long does it stay there? You know, the whole world's got to be educated like we weren't in the early stages of AIDS, and we've got to be educated on this as well. We got to make sure that we know what we're talking about there. So, no, it hasn't influenced us at all along those lines because it's, you know, we've got to really understand it. I was watching a show on the elliptical just before I came down here about that the scientists research said this is very similar to the AIDS scare that we've had, and we've got to make sure that we are well educated, we understand the whole thing. So no, I'm not overly concerned about that.
Has it changed any of your plans or?
Well, we don't
anything
actually go over to Africa. You know, it's I know Marvin Menzie does when he was here, and he does at New Mexico State, but we've never physically gone over there. I think a few of our compliance people, I think, may have gone over there with Gorky from his academic transcripts, but I don't think anybody else has ever gone over there.
The foreign kids, and you seem to be gravitating in that direction because of the success. How do they have a familiarity with the basketball culture, with the basketball history? And if not, is it part of bringing them to imbue them with that?
Well, the great thing about the foreign players is what you look for with bigs right away is their footwork. When they don't have really good footwork, it takes a long time for them to develop. The great thing about the foreign players is they start playing soccer as their number one sport. Like Gorky's footwork was terrific because he played soccer as a child. Mango played soccer as a child. That's their number one sport growing up. They don't really learn basketball until they get to like 7th, 8th, or 9th grade. But they all grow up with soccer balls, and their footwork is very, very good. Now, that's not true with Mats. You know, he's from, maybe soccer is the number one sport. No, probably ice hockey. No. It's probably ice hockey or something like that, but he didn't grow up with basketball. Matter of fact, I asked the person interviewing me when I went to see Mats in New York, give me the name of 3 or 4 great Norwegian players, and he could only name one. This was a person from Norway into basketball,
Cross-country skiing is their sport.
cross country. Hey, Vales. Go Cards.
Go Cards.